Today we're going to be talking about what our deep sea fishing trip taught us about selling.
And why bloody water is a good thing.
So we're talking today about why bloody water is a good thing. So, chum bucket Darian, what about that?
Please write me letters. Please. Okay, so a common question we get.
Sound like Joe Exotic.
Write to me. Right. Please write to me. So what we often...
Harold Bishop.
Stop. Oh, I apologize for everything so far.
I don't apologize.
Never.
My spirit animal's Joe Exotic.
Oh, God. So what we often get asked, what often comes up, is the differentiation of a brand. Right? People have a really hard time writing product descriptions, writing emails, writing offers, everything, because they're just like their competitors and they really don't know what to say. And that's a bad thing, so they don't know what to do. Well, it's not actually a bad thing. That's a great thing. That is a great problem to have because it shows you that your market is tested. And something that we have worked with other entrepreneurs who have found themselves in a very difficult position is when they're in a market that is not wanted. And there's not enough of a market for them to actually make any money. So yes, bloody water is a very good thing because it means there is money to be made.
Market justification.
Market justification, exactly.
There you go.
All right, good episode.
Oh, wait. Okay, I was trying to stifle a burp.
Oh, don't say burp. That's almost as bad as burping.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Okay. It's really not. I could have said fart, but it wasn't a fart. What was that? Oh, it had a bravado to it. Okay, so yeah, like we were just talking about. So market justification. Essentially, what we're really getting at is not just about product descriptions and whatnot, but just in general, you want to... So in DNC marketing, we have our INS formula, which is industry, niche, and specialization. Is it niche or niche? Niche.
None of those, actually.
All right.
Niche.
We're going to go niche.
Or niche.
Niches get stitches. Right. Anyways. So, industry, niche, specialization. In other words, it allows you to kind of funnel down. So you can say, like, my industry is clothing. My niche is going to end up being men's clothing. And then my... specialization is going to be tailored men's clothing for, like gym goers, right? However, if there is no market to be had, or you try to go so far away from what they call bloody waters that you end up going into a sea that is basically just not filled with food.
Or puddles. A puddle. There's not even enough water for a market to have, so a puddle.
Well, I don't think the idea is quite that it just turns to blood. This isn't biblical times. Like the idea being that there are sharks and animals eating other animals, and i.e. salespeople eating minnows and
what kind of sales are
people.
You in? Well, I don't know. Anyway, puddle makes more sense because
no, it doesn't make any more sense.
Anyway, okay, so a good
Unless
example
you're
of
Moses,
this.
that's when it makes sense. But you're not.
A good example of this, and we just binged Tiger King, so we might use a few examples that relate to that. But a good example of this is if you sell to Joe Exotic, for example, his attire, there are not a lot of people in the world who are as ballsy as that to want to wear those kinds of outfits all the time with such a crazy, exuberant personality. So if you niche down to only want to sell leopard print to certain group of people who own zoos and something like that's what we're talking about is if you niche down so far, because a lot of people have the advice of the riches are in the niches. You have to find yourself in such a small community to really build it up and make that money. But there is such a thing as niching down too far and really pricing yourself out of a market because there's just no money to be had there.
Yeah. So I guess the idea really is that you need to find your own unique selling point. But let me clarify that it's not, by unique, it doesn't mean that nobody has done it or will do it. See, that's kind of the one thing that kind of messes people up is we all, as marketers, we try to be so damn clever with everything that we try to make it seem like it's harder than it is, or we come up with terms like unique selling point. Unique meaning just one, right? Like rare, but that's an ideal that doesn't really exactly. It doesn't really exist because in an online world. where there's 100,000 clothing manufacturers and more than that when it comes to, I don't know, whatever, supplements, or more than that when it comes to jewelry makers or whatever, handmade crochet knitters,
toys, baby clothes.
Exactly. Yeah. You're not going to have something that's quote unquote unique, as in no one has ever seen this but you.
Yeah.
But that's not really what it needs to be.
Right.
You can kind of use the idea of you yourself are unique. Thus the idea of why storytelling is important, why the idea of having your customers connect with you as an individual rather than just as a business that sells baby clothes or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. So that's why using, the starting point of INS is the first place you should be starting. What is your industry? How can you break it down to a niche? And how can you specialize within that niche? As in like the tailored men's clothes for gym rats. And by gym rats, we mean like people who focus on building muscle to the point where they need clothes that are tailored to fit them properly, or they end up looking like they're swimming in their clothes. Like something specific enough that it differentiates from the rest of the market. But then also, what's the other side of that is what Julio said is the story side. Why should I care that your brand tailors to fit muscular bodies? Tell me more about why I should care about that. Did you lose a ton of weight? Do you compete in triathlons? Is there a traumatic story behind that I can relate to as a human being? What's the point?
I don't think triathlon athletes are really the people they'd be targeting. But that's not... Okay, so here's really what I'm getting at with that. As Darren was saying, there's actually, if you just think about it real quick, there's two very distinct niches there. One, where if you try to create it, more than likely you're going to starve. And another, where if you ran with it, you're going to prosper. So one, you can go hardcore, and not just people who are muscular, not just people who go to the gym, but like bodybuilders, like pro level bodybuilders, guys with 25-inch arms and things like that. If you only made clothing for them, you're going to run out of money really quick because there's just not enough.
Yeah.
Like if that was your passion and that's your goal and that's your thing, and you really think that is one of those situations where you have to be a 1 in a million. That is your unique, quite literally selling point, where it's just you and maybe one other person in the entire freaking nation that does this, and they're your only competition.
Yeah.
However, what is a maybe still niched but slightly more broad? Well, you go for the people who do want to go to the gym, who are muscular, but they're not competitors, right? They don't have 25-inch arms. Maybe they're guys that do have a decent physique, and they do want their sleeves to be a little bit, tighter, so that way it shows off their biceps, and they want their chest to be cinched a little bit more so the t-shirt really hugs the chest, but then they want around the waist to be just slightly tapered out, so that way it kind of hides the gut and hides the belly and makes them look so much more muscular than they really are, but without seeing their stomach hanging out as well.
See, you just spoke to so many objections, so many questions that customer would have. Do you know me? Do you get me? Can you answer all these questions of things that I'm looking for in my clothes? But also something else that I thought of was, maybe you're not serving the niche of bodybuilders with 25-inch arms because that niche isn't big enough. But what about the gym goers who aspire to be that? That's a much larger group of people. People who look up to bodybuilders, like the old Arnold Schwarzenegger pictures. Those are people who have posters of Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime competing. That's a large group of people. Well, I would say, then you can speak to the story aspect and their dreams, wishes, desires.
Yeah. I mean, as Darian was saying, I mean, if you are creating a business surrounded by this, then sure, I would argue that, 95% of the guys who go to the gym that are worth, physique-wise, worth anything at all, they're going to have posters of Arnold Schwarzenegger. They're going to know who he is, right? Mm-hmm. He's such a idol when it comes to bodybuilding and physique building and things like that, that man, woman, child, they know who the Terminator is, right? Yeah. And so, you can certainly use things like that, references to that. You want to talk about Rocky, mm-hmm. You want to talk about Stallone and his physique, Jason Statham and his physique. I mean, The Rock and his physique. Mm-hmm. Marky Mark. Even he had at a time when what was that movie called? Pain and Gain or something like that?
No Pain, No Gain.
He did it with The Rock. Remember where he was like a drug dealer or something?
Marky Mark?
Yeah.
With The Rock.
Yeah.
I should know this. I don't remember.
Yeah, she has a huge crush on Marky Mark.
Don't tell people.
Anyways. I love you, Sheila.
Oh. If you get that, please email me back. That's one of our favorite movies.
Sheila, love you. Bye, Sheila. All right.
Moving on.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess there's really no moving on. That's about the gist of it.
Well, that's a very masculine example. And if you have followed us for any amount of time, you know what a blowhard I am. I like to give 1,000,000+ examples. And Julio's very much like, please stop giving examples. But I love examples, so here we go. We did the very masculine route. What about something a little bit softer, like baby clothes, right? What are first INS, right? What is your industry niche specialization for baby clothes? Could be preemies, right? Or it could be a certain, twins, something like that. Or it could be the story aspect of it, people who love elephants or love giraffes or whatever it might be. That could be where you start, and then you get into the story of it. And I got to be honest, something like that, it's such a common, fundamental, objectionary, story-centered type of brand that it's really not difficult to speak to somebody and really pull at their heartstrings when you're selling baby clothes, right? So if you think about all of the stories you can tell to brand new moms that, tie into the fear of being this mom for the first time and all these questions that we have and uncertainty, and no matter how much preparing you put into it, you just don't know what's going to happen. And oh my God, now the baby's here. Now what do I do? There's all this advice you can give. And as the baby grows, your brand story grows with that baby, right? As the clothes get bigger, the story changes a little bit. Now the mom's a little bit more experienced. Now she has a second child. Now it's the funniness that comes up from it. It was like, hey, remember when these things used to happen and you really used to worry about it, and now not so much? Yeah, the baby ate dirt. It's fine. But, last year with the first baby, I have a story. I remember taking our son.
Is it about when you ate his poop?
No, we're not telling that story right now. Oh,
it's such a gross story.
That was an accident.
I bet people are gagging right now.
We'll come back to it. Circling back.
All right.
The story I was going to tell was I took our son to a park once when he was probably 18 months old, but probably younger. I don't know.
Do I know this story?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I took out baby wipes, and he was trying to play on a rock, and I was baby wiping, cleaning off the rock that he was on. It was just him and I. You were work.
Yeah.
And I remember getting looks from people, and I did not care. I was so worried about him getting any kind of germs or dirt or anything on him. I was just like, I don't care if I look like a freak. I'm cleaning this rock before my baby plays on it. And now I want him to just stick your hands in the dirt. Help me garden. It's okay to get your hands dirty. It's a very different story. So you can see all of the different possibilities that you can make your brand unique. Like, just because that water is bloody, just because there are 1.5 million people selling baby clothes, doesn't mean you cannot speak to somebody and really pull them in, because half the battle is showing your personality. And that is one of the hardest things for people. When you start writing, you're trying to find your voice, quote unquote, what is my voice? You can't assign a voice. It's something you develop as you continue to write and tell your own story and your customer story through the voice of your brand, through the journey of creating this brand. So you have to basically be courageous and say something, and occasionally put your foot in your mouth. But hey, the beauty of that is you can backspace, or you can edit it out of a video or audio.
Which we've done.
Because sometimes things just come out, and it's you being honest. It's you trying to think on the fly and be yourself. But, as anybody who has a group of friends and has maybe been hanging out for a little too long, gotten a little too comfortable, sometimes you say something, you're just like, hey, I'm real sorry about that. I really, it sounded a lot better in my head than when I said it out loud.
You're the queen of that.
Which is what makes me such a great copywriter, because I edit myself so well.
I do all the editing.
You do all the editing.
Okay, so just to recap, Bloody Water is in fact a good thing, because it allows you to understand that there is a market out there. But I would just suggest stay away from the dark red water and maybe aim a little more towards the pink, right? Allow some room for you to grow and to where you're not just hanging out with the big dogs, but slowly and surely, whether you're a new business, rebranding, or just not starting over, but going to be relaunching soon after this whole COVID thing goes away, or we get vaccinated, or whatever's going to go on. My point to that is,
when this passes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As it passes, and it will pass. It may pass like a kidney stone, but it will pass.
Been there.
Yeah, many times.
Yeah.
I don't know why you just had to throw in "been there."
Because I've had kidney stones, and it's a point of pride for me.
I had a kidney stone. No.
He makes fun of me all the time.
No, but really, just stay with it, stick with it, and whenever you're ready, just I don't know what I'm saying.
Say the word. We're here for you. So obviously we're doing something a little different with our podcast. We're trying to be more ourselves. There will be a lot of foot and mouth syndrome on my part. We encourage you to stick with us and comment in our Facebook group, reply an email after listening, and let us know what you think. Let us know what you'd like to hear more of, because we want to have more fun with you. And what better time than a time that needs a little bit of levity and a little bit of lightheartedness and normalcy. So let us know what you think, what topics you'd like to hear about, and we're going to keep doing this and going a little crazy.
And this was Julio and Darian with DNC Marketing, and this was podcast episode number 1 of Midnight
Madness.
No, it's not Midnight Madness. It's not.
It's a sale, right?
Yeah.
That's the only thing I think of. It's sale.
Midnight Marketing.
Midnight Marketing.
Oh, wait, and you thought this was over, but it's not. Yay for you. We forgot to tell you about the deep sea fishing trip. So, Darian, why don't you tell them about it?
Okay, so first, I just want to preface this by saying Julio has an equilibrium problem. And it's serious, y'all. It's serious.
You make me sound like I'm handicapped in some capacity.
I mean, basically,
it's serious.
If you put him in a wheelie chair and push him into a circle, like, Lord have mercy, he will be nauseous and sick the rest of the day. So we thought it was a great idea to go
maturity.
Deep sea fishing. And he can't handle boats at all. He gets sick immediately. So right off the bat, this was a miserable trip where I'm trying to keep it together and he's trying to keep it in. And we're neither of us really fish. I don't know why we decided to do this. We were really bored. So we go out, we're deep sea fishing, and it's Hawaii. So one of the big thrills of Hawaii is to get to feed the sharks. So they bring out the chum bucket.
That's why I called her my little chum bucket.
Yeah, I hope nobody got that wrong. But it was a chum bucket, which, if you don't know, is a bucket full of fish meat that you can throw into the water, and it's bloody and it's gross, but the sharks love it. So they throw it out there, and, you know, on our way to deep sea fish, we got to feed some of the sharks that came up, and they were just little bitty things that probably still eat half my body. But according to the boat driver, what's he called?
Why don't you call him a captain? Just
whatever.
He's not a ship.
He had
hat,
shorts. He had shorts on.
A pirate.
And he had shorts on and nothing else. I'm not calling him a captain.
Shorts on and nothing else.
And nothing else. He didn't have shoes on either. So he was a boat driver. He threw a bucket.
Boat driver. How freaking condescending are you right now?
No, he was very nice.
Boat driver.
He was a very nice young man. And the sun was very shiny that day. And anyway, speaking of foot and mouth. So where that's
where is the story going? We fed some sharks, bloody water, market justification. You already heard it.
Right.
Thanks again. And finally, this is
Midnight Marketing.